Ah, good it is.
No attendees yet.
All right. Well, success. We've got everybody on. I'm assuming Brandon will join. Brandon will join a little later.
Yep.
But yeah, nice to see you all. We'll give a few minutes for people to get in, and then we'll make a start proper. But just while people are coming in, I always ask people for a fun fact, and we have a little chat about it on the way in. And so, I'm so tempted to have a sort of a quiz to see who actually fits the roles that they do. So, but I'm not going to, obviously, we haven't got that much time. But Tim used to do competitive ballroom dancing in his youth. And I suspect he's still quite a mover underneath all of that, OAC stuff. Dan is a second trombone on, I forget what they are. The overtones.
Overtones.
The overtones.
Big band.
And yeah, Dan's got a lot of hot air. We can imagine him doing that. You'll get your vengeance on me sometime. But anyway, Wayne Van Sluys, his sort of fun fact for the moment was visiting the Ice Hotel. Sent some pictures. It looked amazing. I don't know. I can't imagine sleeping inside something made of ice. And then Gautam is a man who will take you hiking through the jungles in his area. But these days, he helps you find your way through the map layers in OAC. That was his own strapline. I was quite impressed, really. And Brandon was a late arrival because we only invited him late, so it's not his fault. But Brandon, you're going to have to give your own fun fact now. So anyway, don't feel pressured.
Oh no, I like golf.
Okay, good. Now that's probably pretty consistent in our world, but yeah, good. Great to have you. So let's make a start. We've got a number of people already joined, and people will continue to join. But really, so today I'm joined by Tim Vlamis. He's director of Huron Consulting Group. I'm joined by Wayne Van Sluys. He's manager of delivery analytics at Organo and the Oracle business unit. Branden Pavol, am I pronouncing that correctly, Brandon? He's the advanced analytics manager at Worthington Steel. Did I get it right?
I've gotten them all, but you can call me Pavol.
Oh, Pavol. Okay. Sounds like pavement. Okay, I can remember that. I've known you long enough. I should have had it by now. Sorry, Brandon. Anyway, obviously Dan Vlamis, he pretends to work. He's an Oracle ACE director and is sort of thinking of retiring, but I'm not really convinced that he has. And then Gautam is Oracle Principal Product Manager for Spatial and Graph in Oracle Analytics. I am now Chief Information and Technology Officer at Association of Christian Schools International. So that's the gang. Today, the people who are doing the work are Tim and Wayne and Brandon and Dan and Gautam, and then really all that remains for me to do, if you want to go to the next slide, sir. Oh, did you already? Sorry. You get to the right deck. So we are always looking for good abstracts. If you go to our website, andouc.org/techcasts, you will find a couple of things. Number one, you'll find archives of what we have done. And there's some really interesting topics in the archive, probably well worth your while having a look. The other thing is that it gives a sort of a directory of our up and coming TechCasts, so you can see what we've got coming on November 13th, December 11th. And then we would really love for you to share your abstracts for the to share your expertise with us, especially, obviously, it needs to be Oracle and it needs to be analytics and data. But we'd love to see what you're doing out there in the marketplace for real, especially if it's particularly clever stuff. And we know there's a lot of clever people involved in this. So with that, next slide, sir. There's lots of ways to connect with us. Obviously, YouTube. We have Slack is probably my favorite, and that there's lots of people on that. A lot of the Oracle product management also join us on that. If you're looking for a great community, it's worth signing. If you sign in, these links, by the way, all of this will be published on YouTube and on our website in the next few days, as soon as one of the team can get to putting it together. Usually Wayne, so he does work very hard. So and from there, obviously have a look at that and connect with us. But if you've got questions as well, Slack's a great place to put them in. And then the next one is really for you to save the date. We're looking for you to come and join us in person. This is something that's well worth your while. We have a lot of, we're right on the Oracle campus, and we have a lot of good, knowledgeable people communicating, and some good keynotes from key people in Oracle. But if you want a place that is, we're an intimate in-person conference, and it's a very very good place to rub shoulders with the people who are actually doing the great things with Oracle technology. So with that, I'm going to now turn my camera off and hand you over. I'm going to hand over first to Wayne. Wayne, if you give a little intro, but then obviously just dive straight into your demo. And when you've finished, if you could pass it on to Gautam, and then Brandon and Dan are working together. And the last one is Tim. So Tim will round us off.
Ready.
Thanks very much.
Thanks, guys. Thanks, Roger. I'm Wayne Van Sluys. I have been working in the Oracle data intelligence analytics space since about '98. And now I manage a group of folks in the analytics space at AnDOUC. Got a great team. And so I have a few things to show you all on my favorite features, or features that I think are worth noting. So let me share my screen. All righty. So there's a few new features that are either coming in November or have come in the last release. Since I have access to a instance that has already been upgraded to 11 or to November, I figured I'd show there. First off, a nice new feature, I think, is the ability to do some alignments of the fonts or the data in the pivot table or a regular table. Normally, numbers are always kind of right aligned. Now we can do things like a centering or left if we need to. I think it's just a kind of, depending on the data, I think it's nice that you're able to do that kind of alignment just to highlight data better. And everybody's favorite thing to do with a pivot table is to export to Excel. But a feature that has been made available is the ability to copy a range of cells out. And this might be useful for maybe sending an email to somebody saying, hey, can you take a look at these numbers? Maybe they're off. I don't, but someone's going to want a nice copy paste. I can do that. copy just one cell, maybe copy the whole column. Another feature that is in the November release, part of it is in the September release, they updated, it's in the preview options of OAC. If we go take a look, you go to your console, and of course they don't have it here. There's a preview section in the console, and you have to turn on any of the new things that you want to look at in preview. But the one is that in the data flows now, we have a newer kind of crisp-like looking icons. And I actually like the look of these. But the idea is now we have let's add another data set. It's just this nice, crisper looking. I just like the responsiveness of this. So again, nicer looking, crisp view. The layout is now a little bit more responsive. That's really kind of neat. The other new bit that's coming in November, we've only been able to work with, say, data sets or maybe files, but they've now exposed an actual subject area as a data element that you can now pick. So if you have a subject area that maybe you want to take pieces out of it and build out a special data flow and run something on that on the subject area, we have that now as a first-class data object in the data flows. So with that, I'm turning it over to Gautam.
Wayne, I just want to point out one thing while you're on the screen, just it'll feature what I'm talking about. There's a group option in here, and I'll be talking about grouping pages and such, but there's also groups in grouping column values. I just want to point it out to the audience because it'll figure into what I talk about. Go ahead, Wayne. Sorry for bugging you.
No, that's good. I didn't know that. I really hadn't paid attention to that.
It's a cool little feature.
Yeah.
With grouping column values.
Awesome. All right.
Okay.
You're up next.
Yeah, thanks, Wayne. All right, introducing myself. I'm a member of the product management team for Oracle Analytics. So I work with our passionate developers and look into the development life cycles, especially on the geospatial maps and graph analytics front. This session that we are having now is very fresh from the AI world that we had few days back. And we also heard about a lot of good features, especially on the AI side with the release of AI data platform and a lot of AI-based enhancements within Oracle Analytics as well. As part of today's session, I'll be covering my favorite features, which are more into the geospatial and AI side. I'll be covering a hands-on demo on a feature called as dynamic lines, which is on the geospatial side. And just after that, I'll show you a quick demo of a new geospatial calculation. It's called geometry point. I'll then take you through AI Assistant on how we can leverage custom map layers. The custom map layers existed in OAC for a very long time, but a lot of people are not really aware of the fact that it can be leveraged in AI Assistant. So I'll be showing a very great demo on that front as well. And after covering the features from a geospatial perspective, I'll then switch to let's say features like advanced analytics, where we have introduced a new open source forecasting algorithm shared by Meta. It's called Profit. And followed by that, I'll also show you a demo on the default contextual insights on, wherein like in the earlier releases, we had to switch the contextual insights on for specific visualizations. But in the latest releases, we don't have to do that. It's on by default. So I'll be covering these bunch of features, and then I'll be covering to Branden and Dan as. But just like I highlighted, the very first feature that I'm going to highlight is a feature called as dynamic lines. The importance of this feature, as we can see on this specific screen, this new layer type allows you to visualize or illustrate directions, movements, and relations between geographical coordinates or geographical objects. It could be geographical coordinates like a pair of longitude and latitude from the source and a longitude and a latitude pair from the target. Now it could be an attribute column which has place names, like it could be county names, it could be city names, it could be country names. And if we have it in terms of attribute columns, and if we have the source and target attribute columns, we can leverage that to draw the lines or illustrate the lines between the source and target. Now it could be a geometry data type as well, as we see on this specific screen, where we have got two specific categories, one for the start node and one for the end node. And using that, we'll be able to draw the line immediately. And again, the advantage here is in the earlier releases, when we did not have this specific feature, we had to depend on either an Oracle database or an autonomous database in the backend. We had to write SQL scripts to generate the lines and then illustrate in terms of a geometry data type, or we had to write Python scripts, or we had to depend on geographical information systems like QGIS or ArcGIS to get these specific lines derived based on the coordinates and then interpreted in Oracle Analytics as a well-known text coming in from spreadsheets. And that dependency is now removed. You just need to have the source and target, or the start and end coordinates, or the specific attributes, or the geographic shapes available in your database or even in spreadsheets, and you'll be able to directly visualize this. I'll do a demo of this specific feature now. So let's say this is coming in from the NYC city bike data. If I go to my new canvas, I'm just expanding the dataset by the name NYC city bike data. Right. So let's say I drag my map visualization. So by default, when you try to create a map visualization, you can see that in my first layer, I only have a single category. So let's say if I get my start longitude and start latitude, this is going to visualize me the different longitude and latitude that we have. Now I can also add a different layer. So I can go to add layer. I'm going to click on my add data layer. And now let's say I have my end longitude and end latitude. I'm going to drag both my end coordinates here. I can probably go here, go to the layer, and maybe change the color just to distinguish it as a different color. And now let's say I have my source and end coordinates, but I want to illustrate the movement or relation between these coordinates. And for that, what I can do, I can now again click on add layer, or let me do it this way. I'll create a new map visualization. As we can see, it only has one category. Now there is a new feature. So if I click on these three dots, and if I go to layer type, ideally we used to have polygon, line, point, and the cluster and heat map. And this is the latest feature that we have. So we click on dynamic line, and you can notice that this category will be split into two. So right now it says category and in braces location. The moment I click on dynamic line, now you will have two different nodes here, one for representing your start node and one for representing your end node. I can get my start latitude and longitude as my start node. And I can also get my end longitude and latitude into my end node. And now you can see that it is going to visualize me the different lines connecting the source and the target. Now you can do all the visual beautification through the layer properties. So for example, I have generated a geometry using the start latitude and longitude, which I'm going to show just after this specific demo. But if I have to go to the layer properties, I've got a green color for my starting node, and I've got the red color for my ending nodes. And if I go to the layer type, which has the dynamic line, so you see that in these two layers, which are my start and end coordinates, the layer type is point. So starting is a point, my end coordinates are also point. But if you focus on the end comma start, which is having those two categories, the layer type is now dynamic line. And there are different options available in dynamic line. So you can either represent it as a straight line, you can represent it as a curved line, or we can also represent it as a bidirectional curved line. And in addition to it, some complementary visual features are like you will be able to have a halo around it. You'll be able to display your labels, and you will also be able to have your directional arrows. So if I focus on one of this specific line, you will see a directional arrow here. If I turn it off, it is going to just switch it off. And if I turn it on now, I have two more attributes for directional arrows. So either I can have it placed in the exact middle of the specific line, or I can have equal spacing as well. So the benefit of having an equal spacing is that the moment I zoom in, it automatically switch between the different positions as I zoom into different levels. So this was a short example of how you can visualize it as a straight line. Now it could be shown as a curved line as well. And in this specific example, again, I'm using the geographical coordinates here. And if I have to go to the layer properties for the dynamic line, I'm using a curved line here. And I can also have my directional arrows on. We can color it as well based on the personal preference. This comes in very handy if I have to showcase like airline routes or supply chain or logistic related relations between different countries or continents. It can even come in very handy for sustainability related use cases. And the third example is on the bidirectional line. So we looked at straight line, we looked at a simple curved line. Now, what if there is a relation which is to and fro from the same source and target? So this example is from England. I've just taken example of English Premier League and the various football teams. And this visualization focus on where Liverpool as a football club is traveling. So there is this is the home stadium here for the Liverpool, and which all stadiums they are traveling as part of a very specific campaign. So if I look into this specific line, you will see that there is a movement from Liverpool to Newcastle, and there is also a movement coming back from Newcastle to Liverpool. Basically, it means the Newcastle team is also coming back to Liverpool for their play. And if I have to go to the layer properties here, I'll go to the layer type, and you will see that the line shape is selected as bidirectional curved. Now, using the same example, I'll also show you curved and what happens. So if I just want to visualize it as a normal curved line, you will see that it is the directional arrow is also now showing either ways. So you can easily notice that there is a movement from my source to the target, and there is also a movement from my target to the source. So it comes in very handy if you want to showcase it either as a curved line or if you want to showcase it as a bidirectional curved line, and it automatically recognize the relation and then visualize it accordingly. So this was a very short demo of dynamic lines wherein you can easily visualize relations or movements between a source and target column. Again, reiterating that it could be simple geographical coordinates like latitude and longitude. It could be place names in terms of attribute columns like cities, continents, or counties, which would be auto-mapped based on the system map layers. Or it could be geometry data type, which is now natively supported in Oracle Analytics since last year. Now, moving on, I'm going to jump into the second feature, which is more a spatial calculation called as geometry point. If I click on this create button here, if I click on create calculation, we have the spatial calculation library. So most of them are available since last year. And a very recent addition is geometry point, which allows you to select a longitude or a pair of longitude and latitude. So if I select this start longitude, and if I select the start latitude, so longitude has to be placed first, followed by the latitude. Let me just call it as starting position. I'll click on save. So you can see that it gets saved as a geometry data type. Now I can also create one more calculation. I'm going to select it again. Now this time I'm going to select my end longitude and end latitude. I can say ending position. So if I go to a new canvas here, and if I drag the map, and go back here, I change the layer type to dynamic lines. And I'm going to just drag my starting position and ending position, and it's going to draw the same lines. So this is a very simple example of how you can create a geometry data type and then use it in the visualizations. But where it comes in really handy is in how you can leverage the latitude and longitude geographical coordinates in the other spatial calculations. Say, for example, I've got a path of a hurricane, which is a geometry data type. Now, I also have so many customer locations, which could be at risk based on its proximity to the cyclone location or the hurricane location. And if I want to identify which all customer assets are at risk, or if I want to identify the distance between the customers and the hurricane, and if I want to potentially identify which are at more risk and which are at least risk, and if I only have the latitude and longitude, how I can identify it in relation to the different other geospatial calculations I have. So say, for example, in this specific example, we have the customer assets, which is coming in from one data set. Now we also have the spatial information of a hurricane data set. So the very first thing will be, I have my longitude and latitude, which is coming raw from the original data set. And I'm trying to use my geometry point, which is a new calculation. I will invoke my longitude and the latitude, and I'll create a geometry point based on that. And now from a different data set, I also have the geometry of the hurricane that is coming in. Now I'm doing a joining between the customer assets and the hurricane here. And now that we have both geometry shapes of the customer coordinates as well as the hurricane storm path, we'll be able to derive so many extra insights. So say, for example, if I want to identify how many customers are within the range of 350 kilometers from the hurricane, I can invoke a geometry within distance, and I can invoke the longitude and the latitude of the customer here. Now, if I want to relate the shape between the hurricane and the longitude and the latitude, and identify whether they are inside, outside, or touching the borders of the storm path, I can use a geometry relate. If I want to compute the distance between the hurricane and the longitude and latitude pair of the customer assets, I can do that as well. And I can also mix the different arithmetic operators as well. In a nutshell, just by leveraging the geometry point, which is taking longitude and latitude pairs, I will be able to mix it with the other geometry calculations like within distance, relate, or the calculation of a distance. And then I can save it as a new data set by having the new columns included. And based on that, I'll now be able to visualize it. So for example, in this specific step, I'm creating a within distance, which is basically trying to identify whether my customer assets are within 350 kilometers from the hurricane. And I can do it here. So if I select it, so it returns true or false. And if I want to identify all the customers which are not at all having any risk, these are the customers which are not at all impacted. And I can modify the filter again. I'll just have my true here, which is then selecting all the customers that are at extreme risk. And then I can do color coding based on the distance. So I calculated the distance. I can highlight if the distance is very near, then highlight it as red. If the distance is relatively a bit far, then highlight it as orange, which is up to our requirements as well. So these are two quick examples of how you can leverage the dynamic lines and geometry font, which are the geospatial features that comes along. The next example that I want to highlight is more on the AI assistant. Like I highlighted, we had the capability of creating an image map background from the early features of Oracle Analytics, but many people were not really aware of the fact that we can mix it with AI assistant as well. So in this specific example, I've got an image of an office, an image of a parking space, an image of a airline seating. And just to show how it is created, so if I go to the map layer, I can click on the edit. So here I have the image of an office space, and I've actually created different layers based on this functionality, wherein it allows you to draw different shapes within an image and then allocate it different names, which will then get mapped to your data source, and you'll be able to report it based on the different layers that you have created. So now let's see how you can leverage these different shapes. I'm going to show you a video of that. We'll first look at the office space, where I have the data set of the office space, and then I have also associated the map layer that I've created from an image. And when I go to AI Assistant, I can simply say show map of office space by occupant satisfaction. And then automatically it takes the custom map layer. I can now enhance it for further analytics, or I can include it into your different canvas as well. So it will automatically color based on how you have created the layer by creating it through the map layer properties. Now it also works with the different top 20 calculations, or any calculation that we can create in relation to the data set. So if I am to identify the top 20 office by usage on weekdays, it also reads into the time dimension, and we just need to type it in the AI assistant, and it also takes these results interactively through the map layer that we have created. This is one example wherein we are mostly focusing on map layers of an office space. Now I also created one more map layer for a parking slot, and I'm just trying to invoke that specific map layer through my natural language query, and it automatically identifies the image layer in the background for the parking space, and then it gets back to the AI assistant visual results through that specific query. Now a different example will be on, let's say, airline industry. So we can actually map the airline seating through, again, a map layer, where I have individually created layer specifications for these seats. And this can come in very handy if you want to analyze ancillary related details for your airline industry as well. So this was just a quick glance of how you can leverage AI assistant and map layers in an intuitive way. So I'm just going to rush in the interest of time. The two other examples that I wanted to showcase is more from a AI perspective, where we have the latest algorithm. So I'm just going to launch this report once again. What I'm going to mention here is on the open source forecasting algorithm released by Meta, and how we have leveraged that within Oracle Analytics. It's available for consumption from the advanced analytics pane, where we used to have algorithms like ARIMA, seasonal ARIMA, and ETS. And now you can see that there is a new model called as Prophet. So it's an open source algorithm released by Meta, and it comes in very handy for large data volumes. And one of the advantage of Prophet in relation to ETS, ARIMA, and seasonal ARIMA is that it automatically takes care of missing data. It looks into seasonality, trends, and holidays and stuff like that. So it's a bit more efficient. So if I, let's say, just say 30, it automatically computes based on the data. So it is triggering that profit algorithm, which is a forecasting based algorithm. And if I expand it, you can see that this is the forecasting pane, which has basically forecasted the next 30 periods based on the profit algorithm. So this comes in very handy if you're looking at data with missing intervals, with irregular intervals, and it comes in very handy in those use cases. The last demo that I'm going to show here is from the contextual insights. The contextual insights are now by default on. So I'll again show it you from a map perspective. If I click on one of the specific location, and I have this contextual insights option. So this is now by default turned on and is available for many of the visualizations. And it basically looks into that specific combination and then takes into, and comes back with advanced insights. So based on the dimensions, it might show 2 or 3. And if it actually picks up more than 3 visualizations, you will have a more tab here as well. You just need to click on that more, and then it will show you more insights as well. So this is now by default on as well. I think that's it from my side. I'll now hand it over to Brendan and Dan.
Yeah, thanks very much, Gautam. Yeah, I was just saying we can do a whole session with just you in future, but I'll leave it. There is a question there. Please, can panelists just go and look at it? We're probably not going to have time for questions at the end of this, although we'll try. But for now, I'll hand it over to Dan and Brendan.
Thanks, Roger. All right, so I'm going to show you a little bit about custom home pages and custom pages, and then I'm going to bring on Brandon from Worthington Steel. It's going to show a little bit of how they're actually using it and looking to use it. All right, so we have the ability now to have a custom page. So the 3 dots on the left, this navigator pane allows me to select this custom home page that I created. And so now I can look at that, and I can even come up and switch. In this instance, there's also this one called monthly demo samples. And you can see the new things in these custom page groups that have been added. Indeed, we have the ability now to come in the settings pane. This is one of the things that's new. And I've set for my user ID to have my landing page be Dan custom page. And we can turn off the Oracle Analytics Home if we want. There's also other users and roles. You can customize it that way. If I sign out and sign back in now, and you'll see now that it automatically goes to my Dan custom, the green banner page is now my page. And you can set that by groups or by individuals. As well, when I look at the 3 vertical dots here, by the way, as you look at this, just a tip as I go along, the different types of places where you get stuff is important. And it took me a while to recognize which ones. The vertical dots, then I can customize the page layout in here and be able to change the layout of this. One of the things I can do is, and I've purposely set this one up with different types of layouts, different choices. The first one is small. The second one is medium. The third one is large. And the fourth one is list, so I can show you. And then you can as well change how many rows each one takes. The maximum number of rows, it only fills up as much as it needs. So it won't necessarily take 2 rows if there aren't 2 rows worth of stuff. I notice this is set to 2 rows. And I can determine what sections I want to have in here. These sections are both the built-in sections of data sets, data flows, and so forth, as well as any of the custom page groups that I've set up in here. So I can change that. This is how I would change from the small that you see up here that doesn't take as much. I can change that to the medium size, save that away, and you'll see this get a little larger in here. So now when I look at this custom page, it includes those. You notice there's some control of the layout of these, not as fine of control as you necessarily want of that. As well, on the vertical page dots here, on the page menu, I can add new items to this. So I've got right now in here, if I want the S&P 500 companies, I can add that to this custom group. And then if I click on view all, you can see that S&P 500s. The reason that didn't show up is I purposefully manipulated that to only take up one line. And as a result, that doesn't show over here because there's just not enough room for all of them. So that you can change, you can inspect this in here. There are the settings on what access control do I have for whether Dan or others can get access to this. And in here is also some settings where I can change this individual setting back to small, that type of thing. And then you can also reorder. One of the things I was looking for in here in the edit ability was the ability to drag these. Just a tip, and this is a little subtle in the interface. If I want S&P 500 companies to appear, when you hover over that, see that little black thing? That's where you grab the little handle on that to drag it up here. Come on, do what I want you to do. And that will drag that up, close it, and now S&P 500 appears. I could not find originally how to change the order of those. That's how you do it. All right, and then in here, you can also add custom pages. That's added. By the way, in here, if I go in and add a custom, add items in here and add in here, customize the page layout in here, and you click on this plus, if you create a new custom group, I found that I could add new groups, but that will be empty, and then you have to add things to it. Much better is to come out here and say, I want this one, payment processing, add to custom group, and then I can do a new custom group. You want to do it that way because if you create the custom group with nothing in it, you'll find you can't get at it unless you add something to it. They purposefully remove it. So when you add your groups, add an item to it immediately, and then you can manipulate it. Otherwise, they're removed. So you and custom page groups, and I'm purposely calling them custom page groups to distinguish it from groups, which you can do in the data analysis section that Wayne was showing. That's why I had him show that. It's a totally different concept. And then I wanted to bring Brandon on to, I kind of went through what the functionality is. Brandon, if you could talk a little bit about how you guys are looking to use this at Worthington Steel, I think that'd be helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. And this actually goes back quite a bit. Dan, if you want to, I can try to steal the screen.
Yeah, go ahead and steal share from me. If you start sharing, it'll stop me sharing.
So this is actually a long time conversation that Dan and I have been going back and forth on, trying to figure out how do I convert my legacy dashboard to the new modern OAC dashboard, and there were so many gaps, and recently some of the features that have been released, the custom groups or the custom page groups as Dan likes to call them, have helped us start to move away from it. As we've alluded to, it doesn't specifically solve all of the problems yet, but I think we're a lot closer. So I'm going to do my best to have them both side by side, and then as releases come in, I'll be able to hopefully be able to phase out the old one. So assuming, Dan, can you see my screen?
Yeah, I can see it. Looks great. This is the old using the dashboard capability, right?
That's correct. So I've built this, it's essentially just a custom classic dashboard where I've put a bunch of links together. That's not, it was great for the purpose. But trying to get into a new modern feel, this was great for classic. It's not great for DV. How do you get DV content in? And so as you can see, I've got quick links and I'm grouping things from finance to operations to procurement, etc. I've got custom links over here. I've created groups and I've created custom things. Dan was showing how you can do that. here's how I've been able to do some of this. This is still a work in progress. I have not completely converted it. But in addition to creating the groups, I'm also putting KPIs, watch lists out there. So when I log into my homepage, I now have my relevant metrics to me. I manage the data and analytics department. How are my analytics reports doing? Is my query performance working okay? Am I meeting the SLA on the data refresh? So I know that I can have that quickly front and foremost. And then here's my section around contacting analytics. I have it over here where I can contact analytics, and I've got my links. I wasn't able to do that 100% exactly the same, but it technically works. As Dan mentioned, I did run into a problem when I tried to create this group. I tried to create the group with just a URL link, and I don't have the ability to do that. So I had to add a dashboard to the group, add a URL, and then remove the dashboard from the group so I can have just a section of URLs. So that was tricky, but I was able to accomplish it. And what's another benefit of switching to this is you have the opportunity to keep your favorites. A lot of people would come to this page and use the same pages over and over again. Now they have the opportunity to favorite that for themselves and control that. And then as you can see, we've got my finance, operations, quality, purchasing. I'm still able to manage this, but it has pros and cons. I went from everything can be seen on one page to a scrolling page, but I get more interactivity on this and the customizability that is a little bit more advanced. And it quickly highlights, why do I still have classic dashboards? These all need to be converted to DV content. So it's a quick highlight for me also to recognize I need to modernize and get into the more recent versions so I can start enabling AI, automation, etc. Chat with your data. Can't do that on classic. So this is a quick highlight personally that I got to upgrade these. So that's where I'm going with this. It still has some drawbacks. Like I don't want my authors' names to be listed. I want to be able to create vanity names on the home page for the dashboard so it's not called DV. I want it to just be called the AP dashboard. When I don't want to have to rename the content behind the scenes in the catalog, because then that might break it. That's where we're going with this. I'm hoping that we can make some progress toward getting it complete, but it's exciting to see the opportunity. And then when they add natural language to the search bar, that's going to be the next level.
Cool. Well, thanks for showing that. I think we'll turn things over to Tim. Show your stuff. We can do a lot with custom home pages and custom page groups. I'm sure there's more coming.
Yeah. So we've got just a very little bit of time left for Tim. Again, panel, please can you go and look in the Q&A? There's a couple of open questions there. If you can answer them online. In the meantime, if we do have time for live questions afterwards, we'll do that.
Yeah.
I suspect not. So here we go. Over to you, Tim.
All right. Thanks, Roger. I just want to cover a couple quick features that I think are great. And one of these is the ability to add a button to a dashboard. Now we've been able to add action links and right click and navigate and choose. But what we have now is the ability to actually add a button where, on a visualization, I can drill and then choose how I want to navigate and open up a new, you can work within the same browser window, you can open a new one or whatnot. And here, I've made a choice to open up to all the options and then click a company bar. And, now I can use my, visualizations and filters as whatnot. But there was there was some concern about, passing data and whatnot. Let me just go into edit and show you guys what this little button looks like. And it's a new, okay. So it's actually a new visualization type that you have, and it's actually called button bar. And it's here underneath button bar, and it's right here, this guy. And so when it's pretty simple on you just literally add a button bar. There's not a lot in the grammar pane, but then in the properties panel, you can see you have a whole range of choices as to where to align it within the visualization. I have this on dynamic layout, so I can put it on top of another visualization. It doesn't have to sit in its own space. So, this is quite handy, and it's a little bit more transparent to users, so that you don't have to tell them to right click and then make a selection for your navigations. The other thing that's really nice about this is if you haven't looked at visibility, we are starting to get rules where you can use, different users see different things, or different states of the dashboards show different drill pads and navigation pads and things like that, so that we can start to get that same experience we had in Classic, where we can set rules according to what displays. So basically all your visualizations now have this visibility, and you can use parameters as well as using the built-in parameters that Oracle gives you. All right, I think I wanted to show that. And then the other issue, and one of the things that we do a lot of times, we'll get these, data sets. This one is from iPads. This is, kind of open source data from a data provider, and they have these names that are really not always terribly user friendly. And so there's a new wizard where you can ask to say, hey, can I, programmatically change these dates that are kind of built for a database, and just, do them and change the underscore or remove the underscores, etc. And this is, you click apply, and this is going to update my column names to make them more readable for, kind of a front end experience. And then you can see down here, we have these that need to be applied, as when I save my data set. The other wizard we have is to actually, create new names. These names are not terribly, it takes a while for the AI to run, but it can actually programmatically generate new names. It looks like it maybe, so I can generate column names here, and it's going to run in the background. And I didn't click apply before, so it'll take a few minutes, but it will, use an LLM model to recommend new kind of human understandable names based on these names. Now, what happens is once you get this, then you can approve or edit or whatnot your new names. Those are the kind of the features that I have, my favorite new features, just working with data and just working with dashboard design, that I wanted to cover. Do we have time to bring all the panelists back and answer a few questions, or are we going to move on to slides? Roger, what's your preference?
I think for now we've got 6 minutes left. I'd rather have people talking if we can. I know that there were some questions answered already, but maybe we can just talk about those briefly.
Yeah. Let me go ahead and stop my share. This is going to run.
So everybody can come back on camera.
Yeah.
There's a couple of questions. So obviously, Tim, you answered the first one, the sort of gentle question. Do you want to just talk about that? Correct me if I'm wrong. We'll need a full Chat GPT subscription in order to generate an API key that can be used to enable the AI assistant in OAC, right? Also, do you happen to know by when Copilot is expected to be added? So, and Tim answered, it's included in OAC, and yeah, you can read it for yourselves, but Gabby Rubin made a joke at AI World to use it twice in a session because he has the budget to cover it. So, yeah, right. Who wants to comment on the next question was from Justin Rajan.
Yeah, I'll comment on that. I answered that. He wanted to the output of a data flow gets automatically removed from the custom group and pages whenever the data flow is refreshed, which kind of defeats the purpose of organizing this way. Boy, I agree. I put in here that Oracle should review that, and I included, and I put this in the chat for everybody. If you have something that you run into like that, put it in the Oracle Analytics Idea Lab. I can tell you, I have seen them implement things directly out of that Idea Lab, and then people in the community upvote and various ideas, and the ones that float to the top, frankly, they pay attention to. So that's a great example of something. I put the link in there because I'd like to encourage everybody to put those types of things in there.
Joining the community is really useful to do it. You can also learn a lot from what other people are looking for.
Absolutely.
You'll get on there and you'll think, oh, there's 100 other people who already seen this. Okay, when you think you're living in a world alone, that's a problem with you working from home sometimes. Scott Searcy then said, when you set up a new landing page, does the featured watch list not appear on the new landing page? I noticed that in Dan's presentation, and I have been struggling with that on my own, the featured watch lists only seem to work on the default original landing page and not any additional ones. Dan, you comment.
Yeah, I'm looking at this. I actually have the featured watch list is on there. It just gets removed. This is related to the problem I ran into, a custom group that has no items. Gautam, I'm going to pick on you since you're our Oracle Analytics person. It looks like when you have a custom page group that has no items, it removes the entire page groups. It collapses it up to nothing in effect. And I'm guessing that's what happens with featured watch lists. If you don't have any watch lists on there, it collapses to nothing.
That's correct, yeah.
So it's a little bit of that's why you didn't see it. Although if Scott is seeing that they don't appear, then I would classify that as a bug. I'm not sure. So I don't know why they wouldn't appear, because it appears in my list of items for a given custom page group. So
yeah, I would also take the step of, obviously don't battle too much. I would log a call, log an SR if there's a bug as well.
Yeah.
Community.
I'll check it internally with the development team as well.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Okay. And last one was Namala. Oh, it's gone. Oh, there we are. Balasubramanian. Oh, Balasubramanian. I think I got that right. Is this grouping anyway constrained to specific roles to the grouping would be, or the grouping would be specific to a user group? And Brandon answered that. Brandon, do you want to comment quickly? We've got 2 minutes, so we nearly made.
The main thing is that after you create a group, you have the opportunity to go in and hit inspect. And then from there, you can go to the access, and then you can control it the same way that you would any other dashboard or data set or connection. You can set the roles to be user specific or group specific.
Yeah. So really, all that remains for me to say in the last minute and a half is thank you to all of you. I'm really grateful for your time today. As always, it's lovely to sit with the sort of brain department of this world. And I'm grateful for your time. If anyone out there still has more questions, obviously you've seen who we all are. If you need to, feel free to send emails to us. The publication of the of this session and the deck that goes with it will be provided in the next few days based on Wayne's schedule. And yeah, we look forward to seeing you again. Be very grateful for any of your abstracts, and please don't forget the summit coming up in April next year, start thinking about it now. I know how difficult it can be to get travel and things authorized, so it is going to be worth your while. We've got some great keynote speakers, and we've got some great content for you already. And that's not including things that will probably adjust for when Oracle is going to bring out new stuff before April for sure. So we will certainly have our fingers on that pulse. So with that, I say thank you. Thanks for attending, and thanks to all of you for your time today. Much appreciated.
Thank you.
Everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.